Okay, so I thought of something else. This is something that I imagined like a while ago, maybe like a few months ago, and I was, you know, I always tend to look at things and I say, okay, we do this because we're told to do this, or we're instructed to do this, or it's it's like something that we just know, and we just do it. Like you get up, you brush your teeth, or you eat first, and then you brush your teeth. It like becomes these schedules that you do, right? Well, I always question sleep. I always question sleep. And I'm like, you know how the world, they say everyone's waking up, like we're all waking up. And I imagine like, the body of Christ, or God, as being like one of the ancients, like a really, really large human being who is actually waking up. And so all the little cellmates, like all of us, are actually waking up so that the larger structure wakes up, just like we wake up in the morning. And I always wonder about sleep. I'm like, I think of a lot of times when I was overseas, like, for instance, I'll talk about my second deployment, and it was like, that was the one where my mom passed away. And I would stay up at night, and I would go outside the tent, and I would just sort of like walk around, and I would cry, and I would, talk to my mom, and I would just sort of like exhaust all my resources. I would just like cry and then get a lot of mucus and then spit and then listen to music and then talk about it, and then I would cry again, and then it was like I was just totally exhausting all my resources at night so I could sleep, because I had so much in my heart and so much on my mind. And it was like I didn't really have a whole lot of other resources to go to that made me feel comfortable. What made me feel comfortable was like being outside at night and feeling like I was in my own space and I could just unload all my emotion without people coming to my rescue, so to speak. It's like I just had to work it out. And I also worked out a lot too. It was like those were the feel good chemicals that I needed to make myself feel better and not be caught up in too much sorrow. And even though I was still really sad and upset, it was like these were the things that I would do to make myself feel better in like a seemingly, crazy town situation. And I'm sorry, I just had like a mind slip. Yeah, okay, sleep. And it was like, I would stay up. I must have stayed up until like 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, and I'd have to get up in like half an hour or an hour. And it was like, at first, I would get kind of upset with myself because I'm like, man, it's like I'm going through all this. I'm trying to get back to normal, and I'm like, now I'm not going to get any sleep. But then after, a little while, like a week or something, I was like, you know what? I was like, I'm doing the right thing by trying to take care of myself in any way, shape, or form I can possibly think of in this very emotional situation. And I was like, whatever sleep I get would be a perfect amount, because whether I sleep for 8 hours or 2 hours, I know from personal experience that sometimes when I sleep 8 hours, I wake up feeling like crap. My body aches, or I'm dehydrated, or you feel like you just didn't even sleep at all, no matter how much sleep it is. And then there's like sometimes where you actually go to sleep and you only sleep for like an hour or like 45 minutes, and you're like wide awake. You had like a huge dream, and it's like this concept of time and what we think we need. And once I like let go of that in my own mind, and I was like, I'm doing the right thing. I have to exhaust my resources, because if I just sit in bed and try to sleep, it's not going to happen, because I just got too much going on in my system. So I would just like completely exhaust myself with either crying or working out until I was like so exhausted I could not do anything but sleep. And by doing that, by completely exhausting myself, I would only sleep for like 45 minutes to an hour. And I would wake up feeling like I slept for 8 hours. And it's like, in that, looking at it now, I'm like, when only a few months ago I was wondering, do we really need to sleep? Is that a necessity? Do we just think that that's possible? Because last night I literally only got an hour and a half of sleep, and I woke up and I'm like, bam, like I slept for 8 hours. And it was like, it's like all the things that we think we need. It's like a mind pocket. You know, I'm not saying don't sleep or nothing like that. It's just I like to look at the possibilities of something because I know what I personally experience. Um, and like I'm just sharing my experience because I know it's possible. Um, and I'm not in Afghanistan right now, and I was totally happy last night, and I was sharing, you know, an experience with another individual who was having a hard time. And it was like all this positivity came from it, and we're like smiling and laughing, and we're talking things out, and it was like we left the night exhausted because it was like no matter whatever the emotion was, they needed to talk it out, and then it turned into another conversation, another conversation. Next thing you know, we're just, you know, we're shooting the breeze, we're having a good time, and then, you know, we said goodnight, and then it was like whatever it took, you know, instead of forcing yourself to not talk about it and forcing yourself to not do something different to like change your situation, and like, you know, putting yourself out there and trying something, you know, knowing when somebody needs something and being like, well, come on over, man, let's talk it out. It's like you become a carpenter. You know, you see a part of the house in that individual that's a little, you know, upset, dilapidated, you know, whatever you want to call it, and you're like, you know what, I got some tools, let me help you fix that, let me help you fix that, take my hand, let's have a conversation. And it's like they end up leaving feeling so much better, and you're smiling because you're like, I feel better too, maybe I had some stuff to talk about, and you just feel better about it. And I slept such a small amount, and I feel amazing. I have so much to share today. And I was like kind of, you know, not in the doldrums for the past couple of days, but I didn't really make any videos because I was like, you know, I have like a lot of appointments and things to do. But it's those moments where you're like, well, they're reaching their hand out, I should grab it. I should grab it because I know it's opportunity. And you know, whether or not we need sleep or not, I see the possibility in trusting your system. It's like you need to be completely exhausted, or maybe you just need to keep something in the system. Maybe just like sharing energies with each other, or, you know, imbibing frequencies, food, water, exercise, breathing the air, the oxygen. I mean, I know with God all things are possible, and I'm experiencing a lot of things that are like, you know, like the world's mind pockets say, oh, it's a miracle. It's like another miracle that it doesn't have to be one way. It can be. It's like an option, you know. It's a total option. You could sleep 8 hours, but if you wake up and you feel refreshed, well, I guess that's all you need. Um, you know, if something works for one person that may not work for the other, well, I guess that's what they need. It's their system. It's whatever they need. Um, and I think what really did it was like taking that mind pocket and saying, why am I worrying about how much sleep I get? I feel like I got something going on in here in my heart, my mind's racing, and I got to do whatever it takes to make myself feel better, no matter what it is. And you completely exhaust yourself, and then you're like, you know, I may only get a half hour of sleep, but you know what? I had to do what I had to do. I had to do what I had to do to muster it up, to soldier on. And it's like, you know, we do that every day. You know, whether you're in the army or not, we do this every day. You know, things happen to people, and they're like, they're down in the doldrums, and they're trying to get out of the doldrums, and, you know, being sensitive to that frequency and being like, you know, not to repel it, but to be like, hey, man, you know, let's go, you know, let's go do this. Let's, you know, what's going on? It's like you're like this mobile hospital. You know, you become a mobile hospital because by adding a positive frequency to the situation, you literally are injecting them with like that frequency, just like, you know, a medication would, or the sun would. I mean, these are all frequencies that make you feel good. Like, I don't know, if you like swimming or something like that. I think that's what it is. It's like it can come in many forms. Whatever you feel positive about, whatever you think will work for you, it can come in any form you want. It's just positivity and the knowing and the faith and knowing that that will work. It's like just going with it. You just go with it. You just sense it and you go with it. And you end up unlocking even more inside yourself just by listening to somebody else. I'm like constantly like listening, well, like if somebody's down in the dumps and we start talking it out, they say something and I'm just like, in my mind, I'm like, wow, that was incredibly insightful. People are so smart. Like, everyone is so smart, and it's like all these little catchphrases or little things that they say, and it's like, you know, say like my mom, like Spirit says something to me, and then like literally a couple hours later, somebody else will say something similar, and I'm like, what? I'm sorry, did you just say, get out of here? It's like, it's really exciting, you know? It's positivity. It's positivity. Like anything that doesn't feel good or sound right, it's like a mind pocket. It's like the world's mind pockets. And they say, well, you know, I got to do this. You know, logically, I got to do this and this, and I got a regimen and a schedule. And then the right brain is just like, yeah, but what? Yeah, but you know, what if you did this? You know, it's like I could go out, you know, and buy like a poster at the store, see like something like that. I thought it was, I don't know, I thought it was kind of funny. And or I could, you know, use like beer caps that we drank in the past, and I can get some glue, and I can make that. You know, it's like you could reuse, recycle, but it's all the same thing. It's either you home make it or somebody else thought of it, whether it's a machine or not. Somebody made the machine. Somebody came up with the idea. It's still a creation, whether or not it was from your hands or your mind pockets or anything. But I think the truth that underlies everything, the truth is positivity. It's like if it doesn't feel good, then investigate it a little bit. Investigate it a lot until you find that positive note in it. I think that's the truth. The truth is positivity. I don't know what happened with the other free, even the other side of it, even if it feels upset or it seems negative, it's like you know the positivity is there. You know it is, because some of the greatest things come from the most terrible moments in history. Or seemingly terrible, you know? And I think just being able to witness that in everything in your life wakes your cells up, wakes other people up. And maybe that's what this whole waking up deal is about, is that waking up to the truth is understanding and helping others come out of that frequency and showing them, hey, it doesn't have to be like that. Let's try this over here. It's like having that knowledge and the responsibility to be like, hey man, I see you're kind of drowning there. Let me give you some floaties. let me paddle my boat over there and come on in. You know, it's like those moments that change people's lives forever, just by smiling at somebody or doing something for somebody. Doing anything, like the spirit of giving. It doesn't really matter what you're giving. It's the fact that you notice that they need something, whether it's an actual solidified gift, or it's like a letter, or it's listening to them, or speaking your mind. You know, you're both helping each other by stepping outside of your comfort zone and saying, this actually feels really comfortable. It makes you feel really good to do that. The greatest things happen in that moment. You accept it with open arms instead of being up in arms. Wow. Okay. Well, I'm all jazzed up. What a morning. All right. Thank you for watching.